All right. Hi guys. So we're starting a new segment on Control Your Shelf, and it is called No Shelf Control because unfortunately we do not have any shelf control and we do just impulse buy books
All the time.
all the time. Does anyone want to start with what book they bought this week? Lauren.
So I didn't just buy a book. I bought
Oh gosh.
a series of books.
Oh shit. Okay.
I bought the Rot and Ruin series by Jonathan Mayberry.
Wait, is that what I've been seeing you read? You like read all the books or something?
It's the YA zombie book, right?
Yeah, so I haven't finished all of them yet. I'm on the 4th book out of 5 right now, and oh my god, I've just been flying through them. It's literally like just post-apocalyptic zombies. It's almost like if The Walking Dead and The 100 were combined and had a love baby.
Ooh.
It's
Wait, that sounds so
good.
good.
This actually sounds good because I saw the covers and I was like, I don't know about this.
There's also a Mothman book that I bought, but that's another time.
She wasn't going to mention that one.
So I don't know if you guys saw, but a trailer for a movie came out recently for the Fantastic Four.
I did hear, I heard about it. I didn't watch it though.
So as soon as I saw the trailer, I got so excited. So I went and bought a Fantastic Four omnibus.
Of course.
I have it right here. So big.
Oh my gosh.
Thick
It's
boy.
I think it was like $60,
boy.
$70 on Amazon.
You're crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, I need to hop on the bandwagon and learn some Fantastic Four lore.
Okay, just so you can get lore of like
Right.
what. Oh,
Yeah,
gotcha,
yeah.
gotcha. Okay.
That was my no shelf, no control.
I also have one, guys. And it's called Murder in the Dressing Room. It's literally about drag queens, and it's written by a drag queen. So how could I
Oh.
not have bought this? It's a murder mystery.
Obsessed.
Drag
I'm
queen
getting it.
murder mystery. You must.
That
You
sounds
must.
good.
Yeah, I know really nothing about the actual story, but all I know is that someone's murdered and there's drag queens in it, and that's all I need to know.
That's all you need.
Wow, that's such a good one.
Thank you. I feel like we're all very justified in our purchases, you know. It's not too
I agree. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We are your 3 book besties. My name is Carlos.
I'm Lauren.
And I'm Rose.
And today we are going to be talking about my pick. So the next 3 episodes, we're all going to pick a book and we're going to read it and talk about it. For this one, it's going to be Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Woo!
What book cover is your favorite? The original one or the remake?
I like both, honestly. I feel like the original one is like, it matches the vibe of the book. You know, it's like goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the original one.
Okay.
The first, I know Rose prefers the new one.
I like the remake. Like, if I were
Yeah.
to buy this physically, I would buy the remake.
I don't know. I feel like I'm the same. If I were to buy it, I feel like I would buy the new version, but on my Kindle, it made me giggle to see the old one
Yeah.
when it was asleep. It definitely made me curious for like, okay, why the hell is he wearing boxers? What's this cat doing? And just what is going on in general? So yeah.
So do we start with no spoilers?
Yeah, just give us are we doing synopsis first?
Okay, so I think I'm correct in assuming that this is all our first time reading a LitRPG. Yes?
Yes.
Basically, it's a LitRPG, which stands for
literary role-playing game.
So yeah, so literary role-playing game is what LitRPG stands for, and it's basically a book where you're following a character that's basically playing a video game, but like they're the character that's in the video game.
Yeah, it's Spy Kids. Spy Kids 2.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about
Or no,
that.
Spy Kids 3, the
Three.
game over.
Oh,
Yeah.
Spy Kids 3 is game over?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we follow our main character, Carl, who owns a cat. The cat's name is Princess Donut. And they're outside because Princess Donut escapes. and basically the world ends in a flash, and they get led into this dungeon, and that's where the game begins.
Yeah, everything that had a cover or like a roof over it, like if you were under there, you're dead. Anyone that was outside survived. Yeah, you were smashed to the ground. And then like this like alien voice comes over, or was it the words came up? I couldn't remember what happened first.
I feel like it was the words.
But that was once he entered, no?
Oh, maybe it was once he entered. Maybe it was a voice and was like, you can live out here and maybe survive with the materials, or you can go into the dungeon.
So we follow the character as he travels through the dungeon. He levels up. He gains new abilities. He gets stronger throughout the dungeon, and it's all about trying to survive.
He had a girlfriend. She was, I mean, seemingly kind of a piece of shit, Miss Beatrice B, and she
Mhm.
was away in Florida, I think, or something like that. And
Uh-huh.
so he was watching her cat, Princess Fatty Chonk Donut, whatever the hell, her full title. um she is actually Beatrice's cat that he just was like, watching essentially while she was gallivanting off. And yeah, just gets thrown into this apocalyptic world just ended. Gotta play this video game to hopefully
Yeah.
survive.
Spoiler-free review. What did you guys think?
I'll give my initial thoughts,
Okay.
without going into spoilers. Initially, I was like, "This is literally so fun." I've never read anything like this. Like you said, I've never read a lit RPG before. I I mean, I don't really play a lot of video games either, but this was like it felt like I was playing a video game while I was
Yeah,
reading, and that was really fun. I read this with the audiobook, like the ebook and audiobook at the same time, and I did really enjoy the narrator and like the voices of everything. It felt like I don't know, like especially the AI, it felt like it was like an announcer in a
Yeah.
game.
yes, same. Initial thoughts, I was like, wow, this is like nothing I've ever read before. Definitely like I do play a decent amount of video games, so it was like, okay, it was very easy to like picture all the like the stats and, all that kind of stuff. And I also did the audio and the ebook, and yeah, it was a fun time. It was a fun time.
I also did both ebook and audio at the same time. Um and I thought it was really funny. It was one of the I was literally laughing out loud reading this. Like I was at Barnes and Noble reading it with like my headphones in, and I was just dying at some of the stuff that was in the book. But yeah, overall, I think I really liked it. The characters were great. The video game aspect, it reminded me a lot of Final Fantasy 14 and like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign mixed together.
For sure.
And then a little bit of Hunger Games in there as well. But we'll get into that.
So, not that this is like a spoiler, but I do just want to say, listening to the audio, did the narrator not sound like Kronk from Emperor's New Groove?
I was picturing Kronk the entire time. He did.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah,
When is this man gonna say like squeak squeak McSqueakins? Like what is going on?
I didn't think about that, but yeah.
Literally, I was picturing him the entire time.
I had to look it up. I was like, there's no way that this is the guy that voiced Kronk. And it wasn't. But I was like, holy shit, they sound the same. Which sometimes I would say I read the ebook more than I listened to the audiobook, specifically because I think it was ruining like my vision of the character because I was literally
Mm.
Mhm.
just picturing Kronk anytime I heard him speak.
Yeah, I didn't really connect it to Kronk. So I wasn't picturing that at all. So I love the audio.
Yeah, it didn't take me out of it. I was still in it. I feel like reading it with the audio helped have like the announcer and the AI's voices a little bit better, because if I was only reading it physically, then I don't think I would have created those voices for them. If you know what I mean. And I feel like
And
those
Donut with the accent.
Oh, I did like Donut's accent.
And like the graphs he would put on like Mordecai, I don't know, just all the voices for all the characters. He like switched up their voices, so I thought it was really good.
Yeah, that's true. The accents. Princess Donut is my favorite character, guys. I don't know if we're going into that
Same.
yet, but
Oh, I love her so much.
same. Literally, as soon as she like took that enchanted or legendary biscuit, I don't even remember, and she got her voice, I was like, I am obsessed with her. And when she uses the chat and is only using the chat in all caps, I'm like,
Oh my god, it was so funny.
Shooting missiles out of her eyes.
I'm literally obsessed with her.
The fact that she's stronger than Carl, like physically, is also so funny.
She had more
Mhm.
charisma.
She was rising everybody up.
I know.
And her royal title made it so that people like automatically were calling her like Her Majesty
Yeah.
and like
Uh-huh.
being very respectful, and then they were treating Carl like a piece of shit. It was great.
He's just the bodyguard.
I have this line that I highlighted that reminded me right now that you were saying that. Let me see if I can find it.
Carl. I love how she never actually said Carl. She was like, Carl.
So the line is, it's Carl speaking first. He's like, "Men servant." I said, "He's a little slow." "He's a little slow," Donut said to Mordecai. "Intelligence of only 3. Sad, really. But he's been with the family for a while now. I just can't see myself letting him go."
Aw.
But the funniest part were the achievements.
Yes, the
Oh
achievements.
my god, the jokes in there were crazy. Some of them were kind of wild, and like you can tell they're written by a man, but I was
Yeah.
dying.
Yeah, so at first, so this is where maybe some of my time was not as enjoyable because
Yeah.
at first it was really funny. I like the very first one. Well, they kind of made a couple of jokes because even when they announced like the goblins and stuff, I highlighted one about like the goblin engineer being an
Mhm.
incel. Like, oh my gosh, that was
Yeah.
funny. I liked it. And like the weird like foot fetish that the AI
Oh
had,
my
I thought
god.
was
Oh my
so funny.
god.
The voice. He was like,
He started
he was
making
out
his
of
like
breath.
sexy voice.
Out of breath, sounded like he was taking care of business. I was like,
Yeah, that shit
Jesus.
was crazy.
But some of the jokes, they just felt a little too like 14-year-old boy
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me. Or like I feel like they were trying to be like satirical, but it just didn't land. But some of them
Mhm.
I really did think were funny. And then
Yeah.
others, so it was like very hit or miss for me for the
Yeah.
achievements.
Yeah. I think my favorite one was they had just killed their first boss, I believe, and the achievement was like, or maybe it was the second boss. I can't remember, but it was like, "Oh, you're an awful person. You just killed a bunch of babies, but don't worry, they're gonna be respawn to a different spot.
I
Um,
highlighted that.
I highlighted
but
that too.
but actually, now that your conscience is a little bit better, let me tell you that all of that was a lie. They're all really dead, you monster." I was like, "Oh my god."
Literally, it was also a lie that baby is dead and it's dead because of you. You're totally going to hell. I was like, damn. Okay.
I never knew what to expect with the achievements, which I liked because it was like,
Yeah.
man, these are just all so off the wall. I never know what's gonna happen.
You mentioned the first boss though, guys. Why does this always happen? Vomiting, always, always. And she's
Oh,
vomiting
right.
cockroaches.
Yeah.
I was so happy after like they killed her and that was over. I hated it. I hated every moment of it.
But then also sad that she was like a regular person that seemed
I
to have been like
know.
enchanted into this like they called her the hoarder. So she was
Mhm.
this ginormous like fat slob that was just like vomiting cockroaches.
It's like 15 feet tall or something. Yeah.
And Carl was like smashing them with his bare feet because his strength was like his bare feet had like a special ability where he was like stronger without shoes or something like that because he went down wearing Crocs.
Weren't they like pink or purple Crocs or something?
Yeah, because they were his
Or
girlfriends.
bees? Yeah.
Does anyone want to explain a bit of how the dungeon works?
So basically, in the dungeon, there's 18 levels, and each level it takes like what it'll collapse after like 5 days. Supposedly, you will learn
Yeah.
later on that that doesn't really happen because they're supposed to like keep adding it up. So you kind of have to go get your strength up, level up, defeat like goblins. There's goblins. There's giant cockroaches. There's these things that look like chihuahuas.
Dingoes,
Oh, the
The
dingoes,
dingoes,
yeah.
the lizards.
Um,
llamas,
llamas with meth.
methed out llamas.
Yeah. It's really
Oh my god.
yeah, it's really interesting. And then there's like the tutorial guilds, right? That is that what they're called? The tutorial guilds and
Yeah.
like the safe spaces. So the
Mm.
only way that you can like get your achievement boxes is in those safe spaces, and they have a guide. Carl and Princess Donut's guide happens to be Mordecai, which I love him. I hope he doesn't end up being like,
Yes.
I don't know, him and Odette had something going on. I'm like,
Yeah.
I hope Mordecai stays good. But yeah, they have to go through each level, but nobody's made it past level 13. So who knows if they'll live.
And there are 18?
Yeah, there's 18 total.
The main company that is doing this is called Bront or
Borant?
Borant.
Borant? Mhm.
And they basically go around and they do this to, like, different planets. They call it, like, planet mining, which is basically, like, they take over the planet and then they give the survivors the option to participate in the dungeon or to just essentially die on this planet because once they mine it, it's gonna be destroyed. Throughout all these games and stuff, the different dungeons, um, they have, like, survivors from different civilizations. That's where all these creatures are coming from, is the different worlds that they've taken over, and obviously they use different, like, AI technology and stuff to make them even crazier or, to
Mhm.
make them these boss challenges, but essentially they're all just people from planets that have also been mined. So that's part of Mordecai's story as well, is he was a crawler originally, but then he got the option to work for the dungeon instead of having to go on to more floors.
So this is the part that kind of reminded me of the Hunger Games because on top of all that, the dungeon is also being televised to trillions of people all over the galaxy. And they tune in to look at the crawlers completing the dungeons, and if they like them enough they start like kind of donating money, which we haven't seen yet. We've just seen them get like likes and favorites or whatever, like views. But I think eventually rich people will donate to whoever their favorite is and they get like loot boxes. um, and then they so Mordecai reminded me kind of, he was like the Haymitch character, where he's like he's done the dungeon
Yeah.
before and he's also giving them advice. So I'm wondering if maybe eventually Carl will be like our Mockingbird, or Mockingjay,
Yeah, Mockingjay,
of
for
like maybe
sure.
he's gonna try to take down this company, because we're getting a lot of hints of like the political aspect of everything that's going on the outside. It wasn't too much, but I mean, there's a ton of books, so I'm sure eventually we'll start learning more about that. But yeah, that was, I thought, and then the interviews that they were having also really
Mhm.
reminded me of Hunger Games.
That means Princess Donut is like PETA, and I'm here for that.
Alright,
Okay.
yeah.
Both food, Princess Donut, pita bread.
She's more likable though.
I loved pita.
I mean,
We won't
yeah,
get
but
into
like,
that, but
okay.
justice for pita.
Listen, okay, but in this world, Princess Donut definitely has more viewership, I feel like.
Yeah, people love Princess Donut. I mean, as they should.
She is a crowd favorite, like, in their first and it's her charisma. In the first
Mhm.
interview where they got pulled away with Odette, like, she had the audience, like, wrapped around her finger.
Eating out her palm, or sorry,
Yeah.
her
Eating
paw.
Her paw.
her palm, not a palm.
'Cause she's also a competition cat, so she was, like,
Mhm.
born and bred to be in these, little shows. She was winning awards, like, she is that bitch.
As she should be.
She was like, "Sit there, Carl. Don't talk."
That's such a good
That's
impression of her.
it is. Oh my god, that's why I love the audio. I don't think I can read those books without the audio, honestly.
I did like the audio. It was just especially like you said, with the different AI voices and, like, all that stuff, but sometimes Carl's voice just took me out of it. But I will say, my favorite boss was the
The
fucking
bro guy.
The
Yes!
bro, yeah, I knew you were gonna say
Hey bro,
him.
hey bro.
"Hey, bro, that hurts, bro." I was
Oh my
dead.
gosh.
I was dying.
Carl walked into this like, not final boss, obviously, but it was like, well, I guess of that level, final boss, where he walks in and it's just this giant gym, and he sees what was it, like a lizard?
He was like a lizard, yeah.
Half lizard, half something, just like man, big juiced up
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
man.
just like yeah.
Yeah, and he was just like this huge buff guy, just like lifted weights, and every word out of his mouth ended with or every sentence out of his mouth ended with bro. He
Bro.
was like, "What's up, bro? You trying me, bro?" It was great. I loved it.
Very smooth brained. Very smooth brained.
I did like all the bosses and like how they had to like figure out how to defeat them.
How they each have like a weakness that you can try to exploit.
And I thought it was interesting that you see like these little side quest characters too. Like obviously the show is projected to even the players as like highlights and stuff. So you don't meet all of these characters, but you kind of see some of their journeys. Like there's a little girl that went down into the dungeon with two Rottweilers and like she's like fucking shit
She's a
up too.
badass. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's going crazy.
There was like a group of like 40 guys with like automatic rifles that,
Mm-hmm.
were doing their thing as well. And it's interesting to see that sort of stuff televised and still like know the characters without actually ever meeting them. I thought that that was interesting.
Well, a part of I forgot what their little crew was called, but Brandon and all the elderly people,
Yeah.
Imani, Yolanda, like all of the little old people in wheelchairs and stuff. I love them. Agatha.
Agatha. Yo, Agatha, that she's on some weird shit. I
I'm
think
like, okay, Agatha,
she's a plat for sure.
she is.
You think?
I think so. They were
Gotta
definitely
be.
hinting at that.
Well, towards the end, about especially like what happened.
Yeah, she had some weird shit in her bag.
Oh yeah, what was in the bag again?
I think it was like weapons made by some corporation that like they don't really talk about. But like it's
Oh,
not
okay.
not like Earth weapons.
Yeah, it was like Agatha being weird, and then who was the guy that kept there was like an old man that kept peeing not in the bathroom.
Frank, was that his name? Or Jack?
Yeah, it was Jack. Frank's
Jack.
the guy that's in the couple. Yeah, Jack. But who wants to say what happened the last time he peed? Well, someone say the rule. There's a rule in the dungeon, guys.
Oh, another thing that so with the rules, one thing that I really liked because it reminded me so much of like literally any video game was the patch notes, where after every episode they would release patch notes to like patch things that were glitching out or something. So one of the patch notes, because everyone was pissing on the fucking hallways and shitting everywhere, one of the patch notes was that if you did pee in the hallway, it would spawn like a level or like a monster from like floor 9 or some shit, right?
It was like 13. It was a
Oh,
really
13?
like
Like a really
yeah,
strong one.
to just kill them. It was sent just to murder them for shitting and pissing in the hallway. And the whole reason it was so funny because the whole reason why that even happened was because there was a glitch when people would try and enter the bathrooms where it would like the toilet would suck them in and kill them. So then that's when people were like, "Well, I'm not using the bathroom, so I'm gonna do it outside in the hall." And then Borant was like, "Yo, we fixed it. Stop doing that." And people were like, "Nah, I'm used to it." And Jack was like, "I'm too old for this. I'm gonna keep doing my thing." And they were like, "No, really. If you do it, we will basically kill you. Like, we'll make it so
You will
that
die.
you're gonna die." Yeah. And
Mhm.
so all of a sudden they're doing their thing, this group of like a bunch of elderly people, and all of a sudden you just hear, Jack, no.
And he whips it out.
You whipped
The
it
fact that
out.
they described what it looked like.
Horrible. It was like
Oh my god. I
purple
couldn't.
and like I was like, not the elderly pee-pee.
And then they showed the highlights at the
Then they-
interview. Like, why would they do that?
With just a big old shot of his ween.
Ew.
Crazy
Ew.
behavior.
We do meet another pair of people who have some skulls next to their name. So if you kill another crawler, you get a skull next to your name. And I think these people had like, what, like, was it like 10 or something?
It was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
And at first, so they meet in the safe room, right? Because they're like hiding.
Wait, no, Frank and Maggie only had like 3 skulls. It was Amani who had like 7 to 10.
Oh, but that was because of the old people.
She killed the old people, like put them out
Yeah.
of the mystery, basically.
But yeah, Frank and Maggie had a little less.
Yeah, I think they only had like 3. Not only. I mean, they're still killing people, but you know, not as many as Amani.
But I think they meet Frank like outside the bathroom. I don't think they meet him in the safe room yet. But after like talking to him, Carl is like, "Oh, let's go in here." And then they go into the safe room because he like knows that something's going to happen. Like he gets a feeling.
Frank starts lying to them, saying that he's like a cop and that the reason he killed this lady was because she was a human trafficker. But Carl kind of caught on to the lie, and he like messaged Donut. He was like, "Hey, like some shit's about to go down. Just run." And next thing you know, someone comes out of the bathroom, and it's Maggie, and they're trying to attack them, and they just freeze because you can't attack anybody in the safe room,
They try to shoot them, right?
and just take off running.
So then Carl like basically booby traps them, and he realizes that if he sets off it was like grenade or dynamite or something, he realized if he lit it and then put it in their inventory that it would just kind of freeze still ignited. So his hope was basically that have Frank and Maggie come out of their like freeze and that they would look through some loot from like a mob that they had killed, like take all their inventory, and that he would open up the dynamite and it would already be lit and it would just be like pew.
Then later, when we're having that interview with what was his name, the maestro?
Yeah, him.
Yeah. Oh, that was so annoying. That maestro. I didn't even think of that.
La la
Um.
la la.
Anyway, I hated that guy.
He's like a prince or something.
Prince, yeah.
A prince of like some tribe that lives on the 9th floor.
Shit's gonna pop off.
But anyway, I don't remember what happened in that interview because it was a lot. Like some shit was
Yeah.
going down.
They didn't even want to do this interview because they had a PR person. So they got so much
Oh
popularity
yeah,
that they had this PR person, Zev, right? That was her name.
yeah. Which I
Of
loved,
literally
by
a
the way.
fish. Yeah, me too. I liked her.
Yeah.
And so she told them like, no, you can say no to interviews. You only have to do the interviews that you want to do. Well, they already had one planned. Then comes some other PR person and it was like, I'm taking over because Zev's on timeout for a day. So you have to go do this other interview that's a different round table. And that's when they do like the maestro interview.
Mm.
And they start with, is it a brother and sister? Or yeah, they start with the brother and
So-
sister. I don't remember that drama, but then it gets crazy with Frank and Maggie.
It was 2 friends, and then in the dungeon was one of their sisters and then their boss or their manager or something like
Yeah.
that. And it was like, oh, you can only save 1.
No, 2. So in total, it was 4 of them, and they had 2 teleporting things. So
That's right.
They could save 2 people out of the 4.
Right.
Or else they were all
Oh,
gonna go
okay.
back to that position they were in, and they were like in the middle of like fighting something.
And that's when Carl was like, nah, save them all. Use the transport to get me and Donut in there and we'll fuck shit up. And
Yeah.
my show was like, no. This is not how this works. This is my show. And
Mhm.
Carl was like, "Nope, glurp glurp, am I right?" And the audience was like, "Glurp."
Like glurp glurp glurp. That was
And Maestro was like, "Not them glurp glurping at someone else. I'm the fucking glurp glurper." And Carl was like, "Period. Send us in." It was crazy.
not
Oh
the
my
glurp
god.
glurper.
Yeah, glurp glurp. I was like, "Okay."
So after that whole debacle, Maestro's trying to control it again, and he's like, "Well, we have guests for our VIP guests, right? Something like that." And he basically shows what like the aftermath about Frank and Maggie's like daughter. It was their daughter blowing up.
So after the interaction they had in the safe room, um, they find out that there was actually another person that was in the bathroom, and it was their daughter. And when they went out and they looted the body and they picked up the dynamite, it actually exploded and it cut the little girl's hand off. And she was like on the verge of death. And Maggie ends up killing her for no reason because they probably could have saved her, like with the health potion, something. Um, but she ends up killing her. Maybe later we'll find out if there's like another reason for why she did that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But they end up blaming her death on Carl
What you're made to think is that she killed the daughter to gain experience points, which is super fucked up. But
because their guild master told them that the best way to survive the dungeon is by killing other people because that's how you'll get experience as well.
it's interesting too because you find out that all of the loot boxes and stuff that they get is kind of tailored to what they need in that moment. Um
Yeah.
so it kind of just doubles down that had they found a box or, looted something or a health potion, whatever, like they probably could have saved the daughter, 'cause, I
Hmm.
mean, she was just missing her hand. I mean, not
Yeah.
just,
Mhm.
like, that is crazy.
But I mean, in the
But
game, it's not that big of a deal. Like you can probably grow it back somehow, or
Yeah.
they can find like a robotic hand. I don't know.
yeah, exactly.
And that's why that's all the loot boxes thing is also why Carl never found pants.
Because he kept complaining.
He kept complaining, and that got him views because people found it funny. And I actually looked
Mhm.
at the covers for all the rest of the books, and he doesn't have pants in any of them. So
Damn. He
yeah,
did eventually get those boots in the end.
yeah, but he's
Yeah.
not gonna put them on because they'll make him weaker.
Yeah, Mordecai was like, "You've already, like, built up the resistance on your,
Of your bare feet.
bottoms of your feet." Yeah, the soles of your feet are so strong that the boots are honestly a disadvantage, and Carl was like, "Fuck, you're right."
Thanks to our foot fetish AI.
Yeah, more
Oh my
content for
god.
the fetish guy.
I could not get over that narrator speaking like that. I was like, "Am I listening to one of my smut books? Like, what is going
It
on?"
felt that way. It did feel that way.
And he
Uh,
was, like, shuddering too. I was
yeah.
like, "Oh
Yes.
my god." Like, that was intimate.
There
Uh,
oh, speaking of intimate, we've got a sex tape.
oh yeah, the fanfic.
It's kinda like the
Right.
deep fake of, the Maestro guy and Carl.
And then one of the other talk shows he was on, right? They were like, "Is it real?" And he was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"No, I'm not gay, and if I was, I wouldn't be gay for him."
right. It was
Mhm.
at the prologue. He went back to Odette.
Right, 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 right.
Oh, we also find out that Odette and Mordecai have some history, which they don't really dive into, but that's there.
Yes, she's not a crab with big boobies.
It's a costume that she just, like, slips out of, and Carl's like, "Oh, your titties are still on the
Wait,
desk. That's
I
weird."
have a quote that I highlighted, and I was like, "I am disgusted." Hold, please, guys.
Of course, you were disgusted, so you're like, "Save."
Yeah, it says this is literally just a part of the interview. "Now, Carl," Odette said, her breasts made a slight sloshing noise on the desk. Excuse me?
They were like just flopping around.
And she has to, like, get a new crab body, like, every time.
Yeah, because she was explaining that when she was a crawler, something had chopped off her legs, and she had gotten an ability that any creature she killed, she could take their appendage. So, like, she killed this, like, weird crab monster, chopped it off so that its legs were, like, free for the taking, and then she put them on her body, so she has to keep replacing the legs by killing a new crab monster, which is just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
This book had me feeling like I was taking drugs.
I agree. There were some points that I'm like, did I make this up that I read this, or did this really happen in the book? Like,
Mhm.
it was just, I feel like it was a very wild ride. And I will say some of like the kills and the action scenes, because they were just back to back to back to back, they're like blending in. I'm like, I don't know what just happened. Everything just is happening so fast. But also, I was like, we barely, they didn't even, did they make it to the third floor in the end?
No, they were about to.
I'm like, so much is happening, but we're still on the second floor.
I agree. I agree. There was it did feel a bit repetitive at times with all the fights. I
Mhm.
feel like it was the same thing over and over. But that's also kind of how it is with video games. Like
Mm.
in Final Fantasy 14, for example, that I really found a lot of similarities with. You kind of just go out and kill monsters to level up. So then you can be high enough level for the boss.
I don't know. There were some parts that I felt were not even just like you said repetitive, but it was like almost so outlandish that it was hard to put myself in that setting.
Yeah, I feel that because there were a lot of things that I could really picture in my mind, but
Mhm.
then there were some things like when they're like re-explaining the rules or doing the achievements, or there's an like another fight with one of the other creatures. I'm like, okay, I everything's happening so fast. I can't even picture this. I don't even know.
Yeah.
So that did take me out just a little bit from the story.
I did like overall the character progression between both
Mhm.
of them. I thought
Mhm.
was really good. I feel like from where they started and where they ended was very different. Just like mentally
Yeah.
with the dungeon, I feel like they learned a lot, and I really like that.
I feel like at some point we're gonna see Beatrice.
Yeah, because Donna kept
Yeah,
bringing
there's
her
no way
up.
she's dead. She's not dead. And
Yeah,
Ferdinand. Who's Ferdinand?
Who the fuck is Ferdinand?
I know.
The way Donna kept dropping the hints, or she wasn't even, it wasn't hinting at it. She was dead ass saying that
Literally, yeah.
they were cheating on him.
So we're definitely gonna see her at some point because Donna kept mentioning her, and then Carl was like, "Yeah, like there's no way that she's alive. Like she's totally dead." And I was like, "So she's not,
Right.
obviously."
It's gonna be interesting.
We're getting a lot of this story with Carl and Princess Donut, and I feel like it might come down to Beatrice getting back in the picture and being like, "Come on, Donut, like come with me, like you're my cat."
Mm.
And I feel like she's gonna
Mm.
choose Carl over her.
You know what? As she should choose Carl over B. I'm sorry.
Yeah, B seems like a piece of shit.
Well, not to bring up the foot fetish again, but I feel like I highlighted a lot
I
of
highlighted okay, I highlighted one too. Okay, so I'll read this one. It was after he got an achievement for something. It says, "Oh yeah, baby, you have killed more than 5 opponents during boss battles using your bare feet. You're making daddy very, very happy."
That's the one I highlighted too.
Oh my god.
Oh, the other one, the time to pay the daddy tax. When Princess
Ew.
Donut literally was just like, as Miss Beatrice used to say, time to pay the daddy tax. Like, girl.
Oh, I did love Carl's little thing that he would tell himself, "You're not going to break me." That's when he started saying that is when I got the whole Mockingjay thing that I think eventually he might turn
Mm.
into. 'Cause he's like, "You're not going to break me. You're not going to break me."
He's trying to keep like his humanity within
Mhm.
all of this, like not trying to just kill every crawler that he sees like some groups are doing and all
Mhm.
that stuff. So,
And then they have a little pet now, guys.
Oh, yeah.
They have a little, is it pink? Pink and feathery velociraptor? Did I make up that it was
mhm.
pink?
I pictured it, like, without like, just a couple of feathers, and everything else was just his skin.
I just there's a picture at the beginning of one of the chapters because some of the chapters have, oh, it's the beginning of the epilogue. There's like a little picture of him, and so that's what I picture. He's like kind of furry, feathery, and he's cute, and they tamed him, and
Uh-huh.
he keeps biting Princess Donut's nose, and I'm like, I love Mongo, I love him.
Yeah, I feel like he's gonna grow up and be so badass too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he's not gonna be a little baby.
Except for with, like, Carl and Princess Donut,
Mhm.
he'll be, like, very puppy
Mhm.
energy, I think.
Yeah, and then kill everyone else.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be sick.
I did highlight this part when they were doing that whole the dingo where he fed him and like he fed all the dogs.
Mhm.
And it reminded me of Lauren. Because it referenced Steve Irwin.
Right,
I
yes!
Yeah,
remember that.
the ghost of Steve Irwin smiles down upon you.
Yep, I literally went, "Steve?" Yeah, that would be the hardest part for me is, like, all the killing, you guys, all the killing. I feel like I would not survive in the dungeon, would you?
I think I would.
I'm not surviving. I am not surviving in the dungeon. First of all, I would have been killed during the first smash, okay? I wouldn't even have the opportunity.
Oh, that's true. Actually, same, same.
Rose would have been fast asleep.
I would die quickly and painlessly. I mean, maybe it would have been painful, I don't know, but quickly at least.
I feel like I could do it if I wasn't by myself. Yeah, I would have to have, like, a warrior with me,
True.
because then I would just kind of be, like, the cute comedic relief.
Like donut. You would be the
Like
Exactly!
donut.
donut, literally. Like, I'm not using my claws.
Even though she could literally like one shot everyone with her
I
claws.
know, exactly. She does not like to use her claws, though.
I'm interested in what classes they're gonna pick. I don't think they're gonna change races. I think they're gonna say cat human, but for the class. Because at first I thought they were gonna pick. I was like, okay, he has to pick monk because he uses his fists and his feet. But then they mentioned that there's special classes depending on like the planet that they're on.
Yeah,
So I'm wondering if he might pick one of those.
one of the new ones.
If you guys were in the dungeon, would you change your race? Like, what species you are?
Yeah, I don't want to say human. I feel like that's boring.
Yeah, I probably would change, but I don't know what I would change to.
I feel like I would go Skyrim and pick, like, a Khajiit, like a human cat person.
Mm,
Like, how boring to just, like, stay a human, you know?
I know.
exactly. When you could
Yeah.
be anything, you're gonna be a human.
But then I thought it was interesting that, like, the PR person was like, "Yeah, like, once the viewers kinda get used to seeing you one way, like, if you're trying to build your fan base, you don't wanna
Mhm.
change too much because then they might lose interest." And I was like,
Yeah,
"But what if I'm a really cute Khajiit?"
She did say that as long as it's something that's humanoid.
Right.
So maybe like an elf or something.
or like a cute fairy.
How did the book end?
Oh, with, oh, no, was it Odette saying this? It was Odette, right? At the end, she said, "Hold, please. Hold, please." She was
We've
like,
got
"I
a
have
quote.
one." Yeah, she was like, "There's one last piece of advice I'd like to give." Then it ends, and she doesn't even give the advice, okay? It
I
says,
know.
"The problem is if you pick it, it's going to make someone very angry." Because she was talking about a certain
Oh yeah.
class selection that they should pick that's, normally offered to somebody with high charisma, but then she's like, "If you pick it, it's gonna make someone very angry." But she doesn't even say what it is, it just ends!
Cliffhanger.
So, I don't know. Who is it gonna make angry? Like, is it gonna make Mordecai angry?
I was thinking boring.
But this is, like, a very important year, especially for, like, all the little creatures under the Borant company because, like,
Hmm.
Mhm.
Mordecai, this is his last, well, as long as Carl makes it, like, a certain,
Level.
Yeah.
yeah, a certain amount of levels, it'll be his last time doing it.
I have a sneaking suspicion that who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that potentially Mordecai is gonna have to go back into the dungeon, and he's gonna be in the group with Carl and Princess Donut.
Oh, like, he'll
Mm.
have to be a crawler again?
Yeah. I feel like maybe something's gonna happen because, like, he keeps giving Carl these, like, little tips that he's not supposed to, right? And I feel like maybe there's gonna be one that Borant catches wind of, and they're gonna be like, "Listen, you went against the rules of the dungeon being, this guide,
Mhm.
so now you have the choice of either death, like we're just gonna drop you in the 13th floor and we're just gonna basically kill you, or you enter the dungeon again as a crawler with the party that you've been helping.
That would be interesting. That'd be fun to watch.
I would like to see more of him instead of just only in the safe room, so that would be interesting.
So, are we all going to be continuing the series?
I am for sure. I've been wanting to read a lit RPG for a while. And I'm glad this was my first one because I heard this one's a good one to like get started in because it's not too complicated compared to other
Mhm.
ones with like the numbers, the stats, and all that. Um, so yeah, I will continue.
I may continue. Um, I'm not itching to read the next book, but also I like am not against reading the next book. Like I might find myself like, "Oh, I'm in the mood to read this again," and pick up the next book. But I feel like this is a book that I have to be really in the mood for this style of book, if
Mm,
that makes sense. So I'm not like running to read the second one, but I might.
Yeah, I am probably gonna keep reading the series. I did really like it. Um, but also it's that weird, like, unfinished business
hmm
feeling that I have, where
Mm,
it's like I
mhm.
feel like I'm in it and I enjoyed it enough to where I would continue. So I feel like if I don't, it's like something's missing in my soul,
Yeah.
you know?
True, and especially with how it ended, that makes sense.
And I
Yeah.
will say, I think this book might have gotten me out of my reading slump. It's the fastest I've read a book in a while.
Yay!
So
Wow.
yeah, I think this is what I needed. I needed to step away from the epic fantasy and just go into like a fantasy that's like fast paced and just
Mhm.
action and fun and funny.
So what did, like, you overall rate this book, Carlos?
Overall, I actually did my calculations earlier because I just finished the book today. I'm gonna settle at a 4.5.
Dang.
I dropped it down zero point 0.5 because of the reading like the repetitiveness of the floors,
Mhm.
like the fight scenes, and I was just like there was a couple times where did get a little bored with that. Um and also because the ending, I feel like I didn't really like how it just cut it off.
Oh, uh-huh.
Like it kind of just felt like you're watching a movie and you just put pause and then
Yeah.
you never go
It
back.
should have gotten to level 3. That's all I gotta say.
But I mean, the other books are out, so
Easy to binge.
I actually did not rate this beforehand because when I first finished it, I was still, like, iffy on my enjoyment level. So I was
Okay.
like, "Let me wait until I talk to Lauren and Carlos." And I feel like for me, uh, in my heart, I wanna say a 3.5, but I don't want it to sound like I didn't like this book because I did like this book and I did enjoy this book. But if I feel like it's also not a 4 for me because there were like, some of the humor didn't hit for me and, like you said, the repetitiveness, but also I did really enjoy it. So, honestly, I don't know, I'm still between 3.5 and a 4.
3.75.
Okay, 3.75.
That's good.
I'm in the same boat as you, Rose. I'm giving it a 3.5.
Mhm,
But on Goodreads I'll probably round up to a 4 because I don't want to
mhm.
give it a 3.
Yeah,
I
same.
don't think this book deserves a 3 cuz I enjoyed it. I really did like it and I would recommend it to
Mhm.
people. I think it was really
Agree.
fun, but I still don't think it hit the 4 for me. So for reasons like you said, Carlos, where there were some fights that just felt really repetitive. Like the bosses were really cool, but I feel like when it came
Mhm.
to the mobs, it wasn't
Mm,
as
yeah,
gripping for me. You know what I
Mm,
mean?
true.
But I'm
yeah.
still really interested in the story, where it's gonna go. So yeah, solid 3.5 in speaking, and then Goodreads a 4 will round up.
Agree, I would definitely recommend this book to people because it's just, like, I don't know, such a fun concept too.
Yeah, I really am excited to see where it goes. I think that this will be one where it only gets better with like how deeper they go into the dungeon.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
So maybe once I read the rest of the series, this one will go down in rating
mm.
because the other ones might be like way better. But
Fine, guys, I'll read the second book.
Well, it's because I think that the second book is gonna set a better tone for, like, what the rest of the series is gonna look like. Because like, he's
yeah,
already in the dungeon, he's already been through the first 2 floors, like, you're gonna
Yeah.
see the trajectory of the rest of the
and now he's gonna
series
pick
in
a
the second.
class.
True.
It's like the most fun part in RPGs is picking a class in a race.
And that'll probably decide on whether or not I'm like, "Book 3," or I'm
Yeah,
like, "Meh, I'm done."
True, okay.
they're pretty short. They're not like they're not 700-page fantasy books.
We all recommend Control Your Shelf approved.
Stamp approve.
And again, like, there's so much we didn't get a chance to go
Always.
into, like,
Mhm.
like, we talked about some of the main points, but there's still so much. There's a lot going on in this book, so you could definitely still read it and have, like, the wow factors for different things, so,
Mhm.
yeah.
Agree.
So, do we want to say what book we're reading next?
Yeah, Lauren, did you choose yet?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Wait, guys, what if I really want us to talk about Rotten Ruin? Would you guys read it?
I'll read it.
I'll
Based
read
off
it.
your description, I'm like I love the 100 and I love The Walking Dead, so I'll read it.
Okay, Rotten Ruin.
Okay.
Okay. Rotten Ruin. Okay.
All right,
I'm
I'm
excited.
placing my hold on Libby now.
Thank you guys so much for watching. That was my pick for this week. You can find me on Instagram at Kingdom of Books and on Twitch at Carlos Kings.
And you can find me on Instagram and YouTube at Flower Reads a Lot.
And you can find me on Instagram at Lauren H. Writes, as well as YouTube under Read Anything Good, and our podcast on Instagram and YouTube for Control Your Shelf _pod. And merch. I'm currently wearing our other merch.
I have one back there too.
Hot people listen to Control Your Shelf.
Cute.
That means everyone listening is hot.
You sexy babies. I'll edit that out.
Yeah, please.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Moving on from that.
Anyways, outro segment is going to be Reader Rex. We've got some recommendations from listeners. So we're going to start doing this either at the end of every episode or here and there. We haven't decided yet. But yeah, let's hit up our first Reader Rec. So, under our BuzzFeed episode, we have a book recommendation from Not Just a Barista, is their username. And it is Gods of Jade and Shadow by Sylvia Moreno Garcia.
So it says the Mayan god of death sends a young woman on a harrowing, life changing journey in this one of a kind fairy tale inspired by Mexican folklore. The jazz age is in full swing, but I don't know, Cassiopeia Tune is too, like, I don't know her name, is too busy cleaning the floors of her wealthy grandfather's house to listen to any fast tunes. Nevertheless, she dreams of a life far from her dusty small town in southern Mexico, a life she can call her own. Yet this new life seems as distant as the stars until the day she finds a curious wooden box in her grandfather's room. This is a very long synopsis, guys. She opens it and accidentally frees the spirit of the Mayan god of death, who requests her help in recovering his throne from his treacherous brother. Failure means Cassiopeia's demise, but success could make her dreams come true. In the company of the strangely alluring god and armed with her wits, Cassiopeia begins an adventure that will take her on a cross-country odyssey from the jungles of Yucatan to the bright lights of Mexico City and deep into the darkness of the Mayan underworld.
This was a 2019 release by the same author of Mexican Gothic. So super Interesting. I've actually never heard of this book from her backlist.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen the cover, but I never realized it was by her. Like, I never realized who the author was because I feel like I'm so used to seeing her writing, like, either fiction or horror. Like, I've
Hmm.
not seen this.
I think I do own this book because I was looking for like Mexican fantasy, like Aztec Mayan fantasy, and this one came up. So I bought it, but I never read it.
Do you still want to read it?
I do still want to read it. So maybe I'll check it out.
I haven't even read Mexican Gothic yet, but I've heard it's really good. So maybe I should read something from her backlist before I go into like one that everybody kind of knows.
Yeah, me too. It sounds interesting. There might be a little romance.
Hmm.
Talking about the alluring god.
Okay. Is she gonna kiss the god?
Listen, I think there might be a kiss.
Thank
Probably.
you at Not a Barista for your recommendation. And also, what are you then if you're not a barista? Let us know.
Please, we're dying to know.
I'm dying to know. On that note, bye.
Bye.
Bye.